Well, tubers, it's been a long day, and I wanted to sort of do a sort of live update. This isn't live, but I want to put it up tonight. You're going to see it like in an hour of a couple of new toys I've got, and sort of give you an update on sort of me personally. Y'all know I like to build things and work on stuff. I don't only work all the time in the oil business. And there's a lot of y'all are interested. I've had a bunch of questions about my rock crawler, hauler, steerable, stackable trailer thing I'm building. You know, what happened to it? Where is it? We want to see it finished. I hadn't touched it since the last video. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, it looks like this. I originally designed that to haul my Suburban and the rock crawler and maybe a golf cart, and I kind of decided the golf cart idea wouldn't work because you can't drive one in the streets in Colorado. But anyway, I had a sort of new update to that, and also my motorhome we're going to talk about in just a second. I got to thinking, you know what I need is I need another Jeep instead of hauling a full-blown Suburban, you know, on my trailer behind the rock crawler. I just need another Jeep. If the rock crawler quits on top of a mountain, I can use this to go retrieve it. Also, you know, you don't drive a lot of miles when you go somewhere in Colorado. You know, you go to RV park or whatever and run around, and something like this would be great. We're going to get to that in a minute. This isn't the one I think is going to go, but I got to show you this in the meantime. So this is a one owner 1970 CJ5, and it's got 7,500 miles on it. It's almost really cool, like a really low mileage Survivor, but the problem is it's got 7,500 miles of farm use on it, and I do think the odometer is correct. It's not. It's almost really cool, almost really nice, and it's almost sort of rusted out and beat all to hell. You know, it's kind of a in between nice and really cool and, you know, kind of marginal. I plan on doing what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to scatter this thing and do a mechanical restoration on the undercarriage of it. It's got a little bit of rust in the floor pans. There's a pretty bad spot there. It had a rail that you can see has been sitting full of dirt. But it's pretty rust free. It's got a couple little spots in the body. But it is low mileage. And I'd like to kind of take the engine out of it, probably pull the frame off of it, reseal it. And I think I might just haul this to a buddy of mine's house. It's a Jeep nut. Y'all get to meet him in a little bit, or maybe next week. And I'm just going to completely scatter this thing and reseal and go through the transmission and maybe the engine and make something cool out of it. It's had the rats in it, but they hadn't really got to the wiring. It's got some kind of a goofy 6-cylinder Buick in it, I believe is what I figured out that thing is. It's nothing special. It does have a 4-speed, which is kind of unusual. Most of them had a 3-speed. I had to get a new gas tank for it. The gas tank, there must have been dirt or mud or something. The gas tank sits under the seat here that was between the gas tank and the seat, and that's why that's rotted out, and the gas tank was rotted out. But it's pretty cool. It is low mileage. It is one owner. The floor pan's kind of beat up here, but it doesn't really have much rust other than the floorboard. I think this thing's been sitting a long time. The last inspection was 1982. I don't know if it's been sitting quite that long. I have not done anything to this. I don't even know if the motor will turn over. My goal, which is probably pretty stupid, is I want to try to drag this to my buddy's house and get on a lift one day, scatter it one day, rebuild all the parts one day, and reassemble it the third day, and then drive it to the muffler shop the third day. I don't know if it's going to happen, probably not, but I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, and I'd like to sort of get it knocked out. Like I say, it has, as far as I know, in the last couple of decades, it's never even had a battery hooked up to it. And so there's, y'all are going to get to witness this absolutely firsthand. As far as the motorhome update, I've been doing a lot of stuff to this. It didn't really deserve a video, but it's going to definitely have an afterthought video. I put a 3-core radiator in the generator, and I actually disassembled the engine and put a larger oil pump. I had oil pressure problems with this because the alternator is oil cooled. It takes a high volume of oil, and it only ran about 10 or 12 pounds of oil pressure at like 900 RPM, so I want to get that up mid-20s. So everybody wanted me to give a real honest opinion about everything about this coach, everything I like about it, everything I don't like about it, and I plan on doing that. And I've started that video twice, and I basically stopped myself 2 different times thinking, you know, I want a plug right there, and I built this motorhome, and if it needs a plug right there, I'm going to stop and put a plug right there. And so that's sort of what I've been doing this winter, is changing a few things. I'm really considering, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it, about adding a third air conditioner inside the living room part here. This for those 110 degree days, or you know, when it's 110 going down the road, kind of gets pretty hot in here. But I have just spent this winter sort of really methodically thinking, you know, I wish this was here, wish that was there. I need somewhere to put my dirty clothes. I think I'm going to build a couch. Anyway, all that stuff's coming, but that's sort of what's been happening with the motorhome. I've been spending just a very little bit of time here and there about modifying a few things, and we're going to go over all that when the time comes. Complete side note, if you own a ditch witch, basically any ditch witch, I think, they've got a timing belt, and I didn't realize this. I didn't have any idea how many hours were on this timing belt, but this was my project today. I had the front cover off this engine and put a timing belt on it. But over here is something I have found that I think is much cooler than the nice original one on the inside. This is a 1954 CJ5, and it's number 63. This is a 63rd CJ5 the Jeep ever built out of like 600,000. And it's really interesting. It's quite unusual in that it's got, it's made basically as a CJ5 that is assembled, and it has a CJ5 VIN number and a VIN tag that was assembled with all the leftover military parts out of an M38A1 from the Korean War. And so basically this is a Korean War Jeep that was titled and sold by Jeep as a CJ5. It's the first CJ5. It is similar to CJ5. It's got a factory PTO with a PTO driven winch on the front. The headlights are a little bit different. The headlights are inset into the grill farther than the CJ5. It's got the little, whatever that weird 4-banger thing was, probably originally 6-volt. I think the starter looks like it's been rebuilt. I bet the starter's been changed to 12. We got to figure that out. Well, I don't know anything about this Jeep. I have not tried to turn the engine. I was told that it ran. It's got this kind of cool deal. It's got a big toolbox up here. I don't know what the heck that cutout was for, but it needs a lot. But I'm planning on doing sort of the same thing. I don't want to paint it. I just want to make it as basic, simple, run, dependable. And I think I'm gonna haul this with my motorhome on my trailer, and this is going to be basically our runaround vehicle to run around with a motorhome, or go catch the rock crawler if the rock crawler blows up, or whatever. Kind of weird. Anyway, this wouldn't have originally had blinkers. They have started trying to scab blinkers on it. I'm going to cut all that stuff off. If it doesn't need to blink, then it's not going to. I'm going to put some factory lights back in. I was wondering what kind of lights this had. It looks like it might have been some kind of a military, I guess it probably was, the military lights, because they're not, you know, this is the factory color, I believe. The darker green here, you can tell, is on top of this color. It's kind of a navy blue color, light blue. Anyway, I'm going to try to make this as original as possible. We'll rebuild the fuel pump. Hopefully the engine's in pretty good shape. The transmission will not shift gears. It's going to have to come out, probably, and be gone through. It's got 538 front and rear end gears in it. It's probably not going to go but about 40. But it's pretty cool. There's not, I guarantee there's not many of these around, at least many earlier CJ5s. I figured this was probably made on the second or third day of production of a CJ5, which lasted for quite a few decades.